Ian Hazzikostas evidently went on some kind of tour here, going through all of these different presentations on World of Warcraft and how they've changed over the years, as well as talking about the buffs or nerfs to macros, right, and to add-ons and everything else, and how they want to go forward with add-ons. I feel like Ian's kind of backtracked on some of his stuff that he talked shit about when it came to add-ons in the game right now. But let's get into what some of the things he said here. First off, this was a Nordic game video game developer conference and trade show in Malmo, Sweden. Ian Hazzikostas took the stage and talked about what they've learned over the years when it came to making World of Warcraft. So World of Warcraft in 2025 here, talking about this is a slide. These are slides that he directly presented. He says, it used to take 200 hours to reach maximum level. Now it takes about 20 hours in the War Within. Endgame activities include one-time narratives and repeatable world content, mostly solo, instance cooperative mode, so he talks about delves, dungeons, and raids, and then small group and large group, casual PvP, casual and rated, systems supporting multiple classes, primary play styles for some, thousands of collectible cosmetics, 5,000 achievements, 20 years of content, role-play servers and communities. He's talking about the Moonguard orgies, obviously, in that last one. So he just basically laid the lay of the land here in terms of what WoW is and how it currently plays. And his main thing he got into right after that is balancing against feel and perception. So he did open up one of these DPS charts and talked about how players feel about when their class is on the bottom and class balancing and how they're always trying to make things as even as possible, but it is an impossible task at the end of the day. He goes, trust is everything on this slide here. Players only invest their time when they trust it will be respected. And this is true. One of the issues with Shadowlands was you often felt like the Torghast runs, redoing what's it called? Your legendary that you would make through the Torghast runs, like that felt like it was a waste of time. The shard system that they introduced was a waste of time. Even the initial implementation of Azerite armor in BFA felt like it was a waste of time because every time you got a new piece of armor, you would have to upgrade it all over again. So time didn't feel respected. Blizzard learned their lessons there. It's good to see here. Yes, he agrees. If you respect the player's time, players will love to play the game. You won't always make the correct decisions. True. With a diverse community, sometimes it's literally impossible to get it right for everyone. And that was when he pulled up the DPS charts there and showed, hey, there's always got to be someone's always got to be on the bottom, right? You want to be a topper, someone's got to be on bottom. With a diverse community, sometimes it's impossible to get it right, but you can always aim to act quickly when you don't. Transparency is scary, but it's the only way in the long run. And I do feel like Blizzard's been more transparent with a lot of their stuff, whether it's their things they mess up or the things they want to get implemented soon, patch notes. We get the whole, map of the year, basically laying out when patches are going to hit. We didn't used to get any of that shit. So yes, Blizzard has been much more transparent and communicative with its player base. So that's been good to see. Making fun today, or there might not be a tomorrow. So this was an interesting thing that he got into here, talking about how their fear of bloat used to stop them from putting stuff into the game. So he shows here a slide of the original WoW talent trees. 51 talent points here, and by the time Wrath of the Lich King came in, if you were, they used to always add stuff to the trees every expansion. We had 71 talents in each tree. So they were worried about past thinking of often stressed, being wary of future costs. So they were always trying to work the game and create the game in a way where they weren't going to have to deal with problems in the future. And they realized, as you see here, that was wrong. So they even tried to streamline it more, moving to Mists of Pandaria, talking about the challenge trees moving down. Past thinking often stressed to be very wary of future costs. They trimmed down the talent trees because they were worried that the bloat was just going to continue. And now they were right. I'm sure bloat would have continued, but the problem is talent trees became less effective and less exciting when it came to player choice. Going to the way they are currently doing things now with the current talent trees, right? Weighing of the future, but if it isn't fun today, there won't be a tomorrow. And that's a smart new philosophy they have, basically going into, if something seems fun, if you think the player base will like it, put it into the game. And you worry about what's going to happen down the line when the down the line part of the game comes. So that was kind of the theory they got into. That's why they went back to really the old style of talent trees. And he goes on to say in his speech here that the talent trees we have today are a lot closer to the original, committing once again to giving players something at every level. But As they built the system, they knew it wouldn't last forever. After enough time, it will grow too much and collapse under its own weight, and the developers will have to do something about it. But that's okay, because it's fun today. It's going to be fun tomorrow, and they'll face the whatever problems arise down the line. No one is having more fun today because the design elegance is going to pay off 5 years in the future. He's very right. Making the game for today's players, making the game fun for today's players is much better than worrying about how Sam's son 5 years from now is going to be playing WoW, whether he's going to find the game to be fun. So I think this is the right design philosophy. I think the new talent trees are much better than they've been in the past. So these were good decisions by them. When it came to paying for the future and worrying about the future, he talked about it as a one-way ratchet. These are the slides he presented here. Carefully consider how designs scale and future problems, and then sometimes go ahead anyway if you are confident it will make people happy today. That's a problem for future us. So again, building on that one-way ratchet where basically once you move forward and this little thing ticks down, if you know it got some engineering brain, you can't go back anymore. But that's okay. Sometimes you still move forward because it's going to be fun for for the players currently, and then worry about what happens down the line. Meeting all the players all the way. So this was the final slide he presented here. Serving the community. The philosophies are prioritizing player problems, avoiding adversarial design patterns, staying agile, trust is everything, and it must be fun today for tomorrow to matter. Good philosophies. Honestly, I feel like Blizzard's been much better about the way they've been handling a lot of things, whether it's problems, yes, their implementation of patches has been spotty at best, right? I mean, we've seen the problems that have hit when patch days come, but you can't say that they haven't tried to be responsive, tried to fix things quickly. They've been at least communicative in that the fact that they know that there's issues, and when they see the issues, they're going to try to fix them. Overall, I feel like Blizzard's been doing their best to make the game better, and I do feel like it has gotten better. Now, moving on to some other stuff Ian talked about here in a PC Mag interview. He got into some interesting stuff about add-ons, right? We already know that Blizzard's trying to make add-ons less of a thing in the game, or at least less required in the game. Now, previously, when we listened to the WoWcast interview with Ian Hazzikostas, he really did get into some of the stuff about how basically they were going to try to eliminate add-ons completely. It looks like he's gone back on a little bit of that with these interviews here, and I'm going to read some of the stuff that he said in the interview. So here we go. Previously, Blizzard experimented with private auras and could not be read by add-ons and weak auras, but players circumvented that with in-game macros that told the mods when players saw they had conditions that had been kept secret. The aura is private, but you can just make a separate macro that pipes information in, and now whoops, you wipe because someone hit the wrong macro or had a typo in their macro, and great. We've succeeded in making it even more frustrating. Ian Hazzikostas said, let's never do this again. So yeah, players are degenerates. The WoW player base is degenerative, of course, and they're going to find ways to circumvent the walls that Blizzard puts up to stop add-ons from happening in the game. So instead of, I guess, fighting add-ons directly on or trying to ban them completely, Blizzard has decided to try to implement more into the game so add-ons are maybe less necessary, at least at a baseline. So this is what he went on to say. We know we are not going to replace fully in-depth customizable add-ons that we've been using for years and tailored to your personal gameplay, and something that we have as an initial fixed offering, he said. But we're getting a whole bunch of feedback about the ways in which we need to change. We need to add customization and improve it to make it feel like it could be a reasonable substitute for more advanced power uses. And I agree, if they really want to get rid of add-ons, customization is the number one thing that they have to get right in terms of the things that they're adding in, such as the new meters and stuff like that, the way that you could track your abilities, cooldown measures and all that stuff. It has to be customizable. Disarming the race between add-ons and boss mechanics, he went on to say. So basically this is all about trying to make boss fights a little bit easier and trying not to have this whole arms race between add-ons going on constantly and boss mechanics. Our goal is to deliver a baseline, a consistent level of difficulty that meets players' expectations. I've been discussing whether WoW is harder than it used to be. If you measure the way players' success rate is, the answer is no. So, I mean, clearly WoW boss fights are harder than they used to be. I mean, there's no comparison to say an Anduin fight back in Shadowlands compared to a Ragnaros fight from Classic WoW. They're completely different levels of difficulty. But I guess if he wants to measure it against player success rate, because players have gotten infinitely better, sure, that's fine. That's one way to do it. But to say, it's kind of disingenuous to say boss fights haven't gotten harder. We might tune a heroic end boss for ahead of the curve to be something that's going to take a couple dozen attempts for a guild that's in the core audience. What it takes to hit that mark has continually increased in terms of complexity because our players have gotten more sophisticated. With this move, Blizzard hopes to dismantle the arms race between add-on developers and boss mechanics. A fight like Blood Queen Lanolith in Icecrown Citadel had one simple mechanic. Yeah, it was the bite, right? It used to be the bite. You got to pass the bite around. Who to bite when you had the vampiric lust, and and who's about to get mind controlled. That ramped in difficulty, of course, in the fight. If it would be trivialized by the combat weak aura, then it would have been... He's basically saying that if you basically made that whole bite mechanic trivial, and the add-on just tells you where to pass it around, well, then it just would have been a stupid-ass mechanic rather than a fun mechanic. No stress, no confusion, and no communication needed. No need for backups. A fight had an exciting, frantic moments in 2009 and 2010. Gets transformed into pretty no-hum. Yeah, basically by today's add-ons, it would be absolutely nothing. He goes on to say, I think, frankly, this will stop letting us off the hook when we fail to do so. If you're riding the Katamari ball in the Styx Bunk and Junker fight, if you run into one of these 3 nameplates, you wipe the raid. But there's like 90 things on your screen, so good luck visually parsing that. He's right. There are nameplate attachments and things in the community has come up with to help solve that problem. We should have solved that problem, he says. Our classes weren't designed under the assumption that you were going to have to do unpredictable movements every few seconds, making those encounters less fun for caster characters. We just want more variety and diverse design space. So he's talking about, if you notice, the current raid, right? There are so many, everybody gather here, everybody get out of this spot, now everybody gather here. There's a ton of those mechanics, and the reason why Blizzard went with that is because add-ons really can't tell you what to do there, right? It's an easy, non-add-on challenge to the fight. And it turns out that now the entirety of basically the undermined raid feels like it's just a bunch of circles on the ground that you're either soaking or stepping out of. That's what it's become. And he's saying class design wasn't meant to go that way, but that's the way they went because they're trying to avoid add-ons, just trivializing fights. Our toughest modern bosses with mechanics that require players to clump up, yep, as I was just saying, to be in specific spots, might give a few more seconds to respond or have fewer spots to go to in a world without combat add-ons, which is right. If we know it's being solved for you, we're just being told, or you're just being told to run to Diamond, how is that challenging? How do we make it challenging? The only way is to only give you 2.5 seconds so that you need some movement boost. You're making a Warlock gate to go from point A to point B, but otherwise, anyone could do this. And he's right. Basically, getting into, if an add-on's there, they got to make the thing more difficult, and by making the thing more difficult, it starts to require the add-on, and it's like a snake eating its own tail. It becomes more and more of a bigger issue. So, a boss fights without add-ons, I think, would be more fun. I wish the game had less add-ons. You guys know how I feel about add-ons. I delete as many add-ons as I can because I don't want them. I think they're bad for the game. I think they're bad for a new player specifically to come into the game. And I just feel like, devs start to use them as a crutch when it comes to boss design and stuff like that. So yeah, you don't have to get rid of add-ons completely. Adding more things that use add-ons currently into the baseline of the game is a great idea, and hopefully they add more customization to those add-ons to make them more viable for players who actually depend on add-ons currently. But that is all in terms of news.